Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining Hey Auntie. This is actually episode 3 for us, but I just want to say thank you for joining. I'm so excited to have each and every one of you on here, and I'm going to push it over to Miss Naya.
Hi, welcome to Hey Auntie. We're going to start by introducing ourselves with your name, your age, and your beverage of choice. I will start. My name is Naya, and I am 30, and my beverage of choice today is some good old iced green tea. Hey Auntie Lee.
Hey Auntie Lee is drinking. Hey Auntie, that's so weird. Hey Auntie Lee is, first off, she's 57. I was going to say 54. Don't ask me where the other 3 years went. So I'm 57, and I am drinking good old water in my, you can't see it, in my Cancun bottle that I just came back with because it's 11 something in the morning and I haven't had breakfast. All I have was coffee. So it's water. Hey, Auntie Shantae.
Hi, I am Shantae and I am 54 and I am drinking decaf iced coffee. Hey, Auntie Linda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Auntie Linda, and I'm so glad to be on with all these beautiful ladies. I'm 72, and my little choice is lemon ginger tea.
Nice.
Let's see. How about Auntie Sheree?
Hey, Auntie, I am 58 years old and Sheree Robinson, and I don't have a problem using my name. And if they're gonna come get me, they're gonna come get me. And I'm drinking water from my daily water cup. Hey, Auntie. Now, how's she gonna put Sha too? Now, I was gonna call her Sheila. All right, hey, Auntie Sha too.
It's Shay too, but okay.
Oh,
it's
Shay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
oh, my bad, sorry.
Too. It's all right. Hey, Auntie. I was supposed to say that, right? None of your business how old I am, first of all. But let's keep that too. That government is saying out too, okay? And my beverage of choice is lemon, ginger, ice cold water. I'm gonna pass it over to my Auntie Michelle.
Okay. Hey, Michelle. I'm 30, and my drink of choice today, don't judge me too harshly, but I'm having some Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah.
It's 12 p.m. over here, so
All
you
right.
know.
Enjoy.
And I'm gonna pass it on to Auntie Dominique.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm 27 years old, and my drink of choice today is a grapefruit seltzer with a little splash of passion fruit juice. I like to add my little tropical twist. Let's see. I think everyone. Oh no, I see someone here. I'm gonna pass it to Auntie Kiana.
Hey, Auntie. My name is Kiana. I'm 44 next month. And my beverage of choice is simply limeades and a splash of vodka and a lot of ice.
Sha too, be quiet.
It's Shay. Thank you, Shay too.
I mean, honestly,
so
we just couldn't see that fabulous blonde, really, is what I'm saying.
Thank you. As long as the blonde is glowy. Blonde is glowy.
You see the blonde?
Yes.
She got all that blonde hair. That's why she ain't coming up. That blonde was taking over.
Hashtag Black Girl Blonde.
Hello. And I have to say
I like that.
I have to say this. You know who inspired me to go blonde besides my daughter and Princess Michelle? Was Sheila. Shay.
Okay.
I was gonna say, who's AKA Sheila?
Yeah, AKA
the OG blonde, the OG black girl
the
blonde.
OG black girl blonde.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, Kiana, where you at, boo? She's still trying.
She was
Oh, wait. Hold on. I gotta admit her.
Ain't nothing old about me, y'all. Y'all better be saying seasoned or something, but don't be saying old, because I ain't old.
You're the seasoned. You're the seasoned.
I didn't say old. I said OG. I didn't say old.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, there you go. Thank you, sweetheart. Because I'll get ready to get the belt out. Auntie
And
will.
old doesn't mean old. OG doesn't mean old gangster. It means the original.
Today's topic, which is education. Now, that could be college, trade school, work, or whatever. So, what do we think about that? And I'm going to start with I grew up with no direction for college. When I said I wanted to go to college, my mother was like, "Oh, really? Who's going to pay for that?" kind of thing. Raised by a single mom. She never went to college. She went straight from high school right into working in the commercial banking area, and she stayed that way for 50 plus years. So I went to college, didn't do that great. Then I actually went into just started in the work field and just kept going from there. I plugged my kids with, you're going to college no matter what. I don't care what you study, how you study, where you study it, but you need to go study something, because I found there was value in that. So I'm going to pass this off to say, Auntie Dominique, what do you think about that? What have you been taught, and what did you end up doing?
So I kind of followed what I was taught with a little bit of a twist because I'm a bit of a rebellious person. So I was taught, well, my mom is from Haiti, so she migrated here when she was about 10. So with that immigrant, especially that West Indian status, education is a priority. They don't look at you funny if you don't get an education. It's a mandatory, it's a requirement. To be in the family, honestly, to go to college. So I did. So I went off to school, I did my graduate. It's also required in my family as well, because the generation before me, they all got their bachelor's, majority of them got their bachelor's degree. So they wanted, for my generation, they wanted the next step. So we all had to go and get our master's. I started, then realized that graduating in the midst of the pandemic, and there's no jobs for me, that I stopped doing that because I felt like it was just a waste of my money. And plus, I decided to take a career pivot. So that was like a requirement for me. But what I decided to do is take matters into my own hand. Like eventually I will go back and finish my master's because I have some ideas that I want to finish with in HR. But I decided to do a career pivot, and I actually am now in a doula training. So I decided to get into childcare. I became a nanny and then started doing different certifications in that, and realized I love working with infants and newborns. So then I actually just started in February, started my training. So I'm currently in it now. So I'm still getting that education, but it's just in a completely different way, different scope, rather than from like the typical college university degree. I'm finding that it's more beneficial now to kind of like figure out a trade maybe, and then find some type of like specialization and master that, and then go into it in this market, I feel. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But I believe that education is really important. So I feel like if you don't know what you're getting into, how else are you going to kind of figure out besides the whole hands-on experience, like how else are you supposed to know what you're interested in if you don't have some type of education on just anything? So I do think it's important, but I think the scope of what degree you should get to is really not of importance in this today day and age, because you can make money through different sources of income, and passively or just different type of ways. So I just think that the importance of it is kind of diminishing in a slight way now, for maybe possibly for the next generation. But I do personally believe that it's a priority, not main thing, because I'm just a curious person naturally. Okay, I would like to pass it to Auntie Shay Shay.
Oh, well, growing up, education was not stressed at all in my household. So going to high school and getting your diploma was enough in my household. And so for me, I did go to college, but I grew up in a white community. So when I went to college, I saw Black people. I saw me. So I went cray cray. I actually went on a basketball scholarship, and I just partied my first year. And I left college with a 1.3 average because I didn't study. I didn't do nothing but party. But I did get my bachelor's degree. I got it later on in life. I was 54 when I actually graduated from college. So I did get it, but it was because of necessity. I wanted to maintain a certain lifestyle. And you can't do that if you just got a high school diploma. So that was the way education was presented to me. And that's what I did with it later on. And now I'm going to pass it over to Auntie J.
So how do I feel about education? So I have to write down notes because my brain is scattered. So your questions were how was I taught? What was I taught about education and my personal thoughts?
Right. So
Thankfully, they have changed.
Okay.
So my mother graduated from college. My mother was older when she had me back in, 54 years ago. And she went to college, and that was very rare for that time. But she went to college, and she kind of pressed it on us as her children, but it wasn't grand. But then my dad went to only third grade. So it was either, you either do this or do absolutely nothing. So that was like my view on it, but that's not what was passed on to us. What was passed on to us is like, just do good at whatever you do. Whatever you do the best, do the top. My mother would say things like, if you were a hooker or a whore, be the best at it. If you're a liar or a cheat or a thief, be the best at it. I know that sounds strange, but if you knew the way my life went, then you'd be like, oh, okay. No, seriously, for me, education today is the most important thing. I have stressed it on my children. And my children went exactly like my parents went. My son, it took him a long time to get there. And my daughter went the route of military. And she got her education. And my son is now getting back into his education. And for me, I am taking courses for addiction and for being peer support for addiction and counseling in that way. And I've been doing this addiction degree for a long time. Like, it's gonna take me forever, but I'm okay with that because it's lived in experience also. But I agree that if, unfortunately, in this society, a woman has to do extra, and then being a woman of color, I have to do 20,000 times more. So, which is okay by me because I'm an overachiever. So I feel okay with that. I wish I had graduated college already, though. I wish I had done this stuff at a younger age, but that wasn't my path. So my path was this. So I just take it as it is, and I'm grateful from where I am, and I'm grateful that I have the ability to be able to like sit and do it now. Because I was a mother young, single mother young, and I didn't have the time to go and do all that kind of stuff, I was working a lot of jobs younger, but I'm grateful today that I can do that and pay for it on my own and not have to, I just take course by course by course. Like I said, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am, but I'm okay. But today, like for me, life education has really taught me a lot. I've learned a lot about myself through what's been happening in the world, and I've learned a lot about other people with what's been happening in the world. And I think that's the biggest education for me because I was very blinded. I went to majorly white schools growing up. I grew up here in Vegas. So it was it sounds weird, but it was very segregated, areas. So, and we were bused at one time to, a certain area. So I had an education in that variety. I'm grateful for that too. So I think everything I've ever done in my life has brought me to this place, and I'm grateful for that. So I do miss that I did not have like a college experience like what Miss Shay Shay had, but I did eventually have a college experience. It just wasn't with college. So I'm grateful for like every moment that I get a chance to like take another class online, and I'm grateful for online. So that's my view on education. And I say, if you have a chance to get it and take all of it. Even when you don't want to, like take something, do something. You never know what could happen. Start another career at 50, start another career at 60. That's the grace of this world today. Start another career. Yeah. So I'm gonna pass it to Auntie Kiana.
Hi. So in my household, my education was drilled in my head since I was a little girl. I can remember being in high school, I don't know, maybe junior, sophomore year. My mother's like, so what do you want to study in college? And I'm like, I don't know, like who's thinking about college? Both my parents were college graduates. And so of course I went to college. I didn't know what I wanted to study. My mother told me that I needed to go into business. So that's what I did. And I didn't like it. And the first year after taking the courses and like seeing what other things were around, I talked to my counselor and she said, you seem like you like healthcare, which I did, but I knew I didn't like blood, and per se, but just that, just the concept, the idea, it just seemed like interesting to me in science. So she said, well, you can go into health administration, and that's still business, but that's the healthcare side. So after she told me that, I convinced my mom. She said, okay, but what job can you get? And I'm like, oh, you can work at, Empire, you can work at a hospital, different places. So she went with it. So I went ahead, got my undergrads. I worked in healthcare at the places she said I could work. And I still wasn't finding that I was getting fulfilled. I'm a Leo, I like to shine, and I never felt like I was really shining. Also, on top of that, I was laid off 3 times. I got married, I had 2 kids, I got divorced. And so it came to a point where just recently, about 18 months ago, I was working at Northwell and I had finally landed my dream job as a manager. And it was very corporate, but I was working from home, which I thought I would love, but it was more hours, it was more intense. And again, I'm a single mom with 2 kids. And so I couldn't give them the attention they needed because they would say, yeah, you can log off, but make sure you log back on and you're here in the morning by 6 a.m. again for another meeting, So I said, this is not for me. So I kind of rethought my, what I wanted to do, which was still in healthcare. So I went back to school and now I am 1 day away from finishing my internship of 18-month program for ultrasound technician. So I took the leap. I'm very happy. Now I'm going on the clinical side of things. And FYI, I went back to school and got my master's because I said, I want to make more money and maybe this will put me at a higher place. So I do have my MBA with healthcare management. And now I will have my certification for ultrasound technology soon. I'm almost done. And then hopefully, finally, I can be fulfilled. And I think I will because it's something now that I'm interested in going forward. But of course, I press the same importance on my kids. I'm very big on education. My kids go to charter school, and that's because I can't afford to send them to private school, which I went to. I was the only child. So the charter school here in New York, the curriculum is much higher than the ones at the public school. It's a little bit more strict, but this is what I'm used to. So, I put them in this because, again, I want them to succeed and do the best that they can for education. But as far as college goes for my kids, you got to know your kid. Not every kid is college ready. And though I think, or, I don't want to say college potential, just not a college kid, as an adult, I've seen my friends, some flunk out of school because they was partying, some do great and they're making 6 figures now, or some who took a turn like I did and they went to a trade school. I know somebody who's an electrician who never finished college and now he's making buku money, so I'm going to do the same thing with my kids is, I'm going to push that they need to have something, some type of form of education, certification, something, but I don't know if it's college for both of them, you know what I mean? So as we get closer to that and I start seeing what their interests are and I start pushing them towards it, I'm going to make sure we revisit that because, again, I know people who've never gone to college who are entrepreneurs, you know what I mean? And they are making money. It's not about that. The other part of it is there is a college experience, the part of going away and learning how to be an adult without your mom and dad. So that part is also important, but we'll get there. So I'm kind of open, but I'm not just stuck on this is how it has to be, especially with today and our world is way different than when our grandparents, were going to school and just high school was enough and they saved up their coins and their money. It costs 10 times more to get a house, than it did back then. So you gotta think of different approaches now.
I'd like to, that's a lot. And I thank you for all of that because first off, congratulations. I didn't know that about you. So yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Because that's a big accomplishment. And I'm going to jump in and say 2 things. Number one, I also went back to school, got my bachelor's, got my associates, got my bachelor's, and I hated every minute of school. I never liked school. I never liked school in school and as an adult, but I knew I had to get it to go further in my career. And yes, I've called some of y'all on this cast here going, how do I do this? what they
I was
talking
doing her
about.
homework, y'all. I was
Don't
doing
say
her
that too
math.
loud. They might take my degree away. But I'm not gonna lie, because my Naya knows, my brain was like, what? Math is not my thing. I know 1 + 1 = 2. Don't take it past that, okay? But I'm not counting money though. That's another, I'm not counting money. But it was just too much for my brain. I want to pause right here and I want to ask a question to Shantae. So when did you change from wanting to go to college or doing what either your mom did or what your dad did, and then went over to trade school? Or how did you get your knowledge and your education on being a fabulous hair colorist?
You know, part of me going into hairdressing was to being a cosmetologist was because of my past. You know, there was domestic violence in my mom's, with my father being one of us. When I say one of us, I'm so sorry. I'm used to being in meetings, and when I say meetings, I mean AA meetings. I'm sorry. So when you guys say your names, I want to go, hi, welcome in, like, you know, and I want to say thank you for sharing. I'm sorry. Let me get that out of the way so I feel better. Okay. Literally, I want to say
You can
thank you for sharing, Shay.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Shantae and I'm an alcoholic. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is why it's decaf.
You're training on you're doing
So
hair.
when I was young, I've been doing hair over 34 years. And I went to high school, and out here was VOTEC, vocational training. And with what was going on with my mother, my siblings left, and I had to figure out something in my head, in my infinite mind. I had to figure out something to get us away from my dad. And that's when I knew then that I wanted to help women. I didn't know what it was called then. It wasn't called domestic violence then. It was just, you know, my dad was a drunk. And so I said, what's the quickest thing I could do? So I had plans to go to college because my mother was like, you got to do something, you know. I wanted to go and help women with domestic violence because of my mother's situation. And it took me a long time to get there. And I knew the only way I could get there quicker was go into hairdressing, because so cosmetology was easier. And when I graduated, I had already applied to a couple of colleges, and I had already taken the boards for my licensing for full cosmetology. So I told my mother, whichever one comes in first, my license or the college acceptance. And 2 days before the college acceptance came in to Brooks College in Santa Barbara, which is the place I love in Santa Barbara, my cosmetology license came in. So, and I've been doing that ever since I graduated high school in '88. So that's how I got into it. And then my life took a different turn, and I've been working ever since, always in this business. And I became a colorist because I started working for Redken, and I was the first Black woman to go into Redken and educate other hairdressers on how to do color. I fell into it. And I've been doing that ever since too. So I was at a first Black and the first youngest one to go in there. I was only doing hair like 4 years when I went into it.
Nice.
I was 18, and then going into them, I was 22, and which was kind of cool, I guess. But I didn't think about it as like groundbreaking or nothing. I'm just a hairdresser, but you could tell how old I am when I say hairdresser. And so the great thing now is that my life has taken a beautiful turn because I clearly do get to help women in domestic violence situations, and we're like the number 2 state here in trafficking, so I get to help women in that. So like God is like doing what he's doing in my life, and I'm just letting him do it. And I don't regret any decision I've ever made in my life, even when I was using and drinking, because it led me here. So that's where I am today. And that's how I ended up taking those PRSS courses and helping peer support courses and helping somebody. So that's where I'm at.
Well, who do you
Thank you
want
for
to
letting
pass
me
it
share.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
She's also like a therapist, because you know our hair therapists listen to us. So this works, you know, between you helping women on the battered side as well as the mentally battered
It's
side,
true.
if you will. You're at the hairdresser especially for Black women. This is a form of therapy. So don't count yourself out of that as well.
No.
I use different
She's my
pricing for that
therapist.
too nowadays. So A haircut for just no therapy is 50, for therapy is 150. So
Oh, she's
I
heard
also
my
have a
stories.
door in my room, so I'm not joking.
Like, Tay, let me tell you this week. No.
I would like to pass it to Auntie Linda.
Hi, aunties. I'm going to try to do what they used to call a Reader's Digest version. Okay. Because I have lived longer and I grew up in the 50s and things were quite different. Very, very different. And I have watched progression in education in our nation when it comes to people of color. Okay, because in the 50s, you were groomed to be either in the industry, in the workforce, blue collar. You were not encouraged to get a higher education beyond high school. And even in high school, um, you would have to fight to be in any college prep courses because the counselor was always telling you, oh no, you would do great as like a laborer or working in the factory and those kind of things. So, and not only that, I had to fight segregation, and then like going to school and having to like really fight. And we talk about busing. Well, I'm from the hood. I grew up in the hood, and we had our own school or whatever, but they burned it down. But they didn't realize that we got to come to your school now, okay? Wow. Since you burned our school down. And we weren't busable. Even the state of New Jersey says that you have to bus children that are, say, 2 miles. We walked way past 2 miles. Sometimes, as little kids and what have you, by the time we got to school, we were tired. Okay. Yeah. But that's just, again, in the 50s, my mother did press and prioritize education. She grew up in New York. She went to Needle and Trade School of New York, and she graduated. My mom was a master tailor. She believed in putting eggs in your basket. She always said, put eggs in your basket. And that's what she did during her life. She started out in the garment industry, but she always wanted to be a nurse. So when she was 50 years old, she could retire from the garment industry. She went to nursing school and became a nurse. Wow. So I applaud my mom for that because of the fact her being born 1926, there was no if you finished high school, you did a good thing, Yeah. And so for myself, no bragging or anything like that. I just thank God that I had a higher IQ as, I could ascertain and learn and what have you. And so my mom can afford books. And I don't know if you remember when you go to, say, the supermarket and they had encyclopedias, if you bought a certain amount of groceries. Well, my grandmother and my mom, they were bringing in the books, and I grew up like reading encyclopedias, dictionaries, anything I can, get my hands on, because we were poor. We didn't have a lot, and my parents, they tried their best to give us, their best. And so we did move to the suburbs, and that was a total nightmare because they didn't want people of color coming into the suburbs in the 60s. And the thing about it was I come from a multiracial family. And so my mother, she was half French, half Latino. And my father was some of his people came from Wales, and he was, Black and some Indian. So we had like a smattering. And so my father looked like Latino, my mom looked white. Okay. So it was we growing up, that was a mess, but my parents strived to get us a better life. They sacrificed a lot. And education was number one, because my mother was like, education is like the wheel that's going to navigate you through life. You know, and if you take the combination of information, knowledge, and life experiences, you can make it. You can do anything. Because my mother said, I can't afford to send you to college. So if you can find ways of going to college, I was an athlete. And I'll tell you, back then, women, sports, nothing. You know, nobody came to our games, none of that stuff. Boys, it was a big thing. Cheerleaders, everything. They got the scholarships, you know, what have you. We didn't get all that. Women just always took a back seat, you know. And so with all of that I'm saying, I thank God that my mother instilled, and my father did too, but my mother instilled education, information, the truth, searching facts. Those kind of things will take you far. You have to be twice as good, you know, when you go to put those applications in, whether you're going to school, whether you're going to get a job, whatever you're going to do, be the best. Just like, you know, aunties were talking about, you have to be the best. Okay. And so what I did was I talked to some of my friends or whatever before I graduated from high school. And their suggestion was, listen, you can't afford it. Get a job with a really good company that will pay for it. And I got a job with New Jersey Bell. And they had benefits up the gazoo. Okay. But here's the deal. How I got that job is my mom said, you got to persevere, and in something, anything that you want, never give up, persevere. Well, I put my application in, didn't hear anything. I decided to call them every day.
You gonna hire me?
Day. They got so sick of me. Okay. And how I found that out is when I did get a job and they hired me like on the spot once I got the job, because when I took the test that they gave me, I got like 100% on the test, you know, right? So they hired me on the spot. But there was a lady that worked in the employment office, and she wound up getting a transfer where I was working, and she saw my name and she said, oh, I got to meet you. She goes, let me tell you something. And she was saying, this, we were so sick of you calling up. And then she said, but you know what the supervisor said? Don't even put her records away. Just leave it on the desk. And when a job comes up, call that woman. Call her.
Love it.
You know? So I try to tell young people, you want something, you persevere, because you can get it. You can get it, you know? And the job that I had, I was in that job for 14 years. That job was horrible, but it taught me discipline. It taught me everything I needed to know, that when I got a promotion, I got a 3-level up promotion.
Wow.
And then Merrill Lynch loved me. I worked in telecommunications for 50 years, and I got this perfect job as an executive project manager for Merrill Lynch. All of their executives, I did all of their projects and things like that, you know, and I worked that for 11 years. But during the whole time that I worked in the workforce is I went to school. I took up courses that the job would give. They say, oh, we got a course. I took it. Okay. I went to college and I tried to fit that in when I could. And eventually I did get my bachelor's. And so again, I just thank God for my parents who did instill, with all the things that we had to go through in the 50s and the 60s, we still pushed, we still moved ahead. You know, nothing can stop you. My parents were spiritual. I don't like to say religious, but they were spiritual. And they said, you know, with God, you can do all things. You just have to believe in yourself and just move forward. You fail. My mom said, don't take that word as failure. It's an experience you had that's going to push you to the next level. Okay. And so you just learn from whatever life teaches you, learn it. So,
Right.
but that, you know, that's my thing. And then I put all kinds of eggs in my basket too. I'm a biblical counselor, you know, I do all kinds of things like that. And, you know, a little list of the things that I like to do. And that's rewarding and that's purposeful, that can help other people. And that's another thing that I always want to pass on. No matter what you do, don't forget, one, where you come from. Two, the journey that you take, do not step on people as you go along that journey. You know, take people with you, take them under your wing, you know, try to understand people, be kind, you know, that kind of thing. But always try to do the best, because at the end of the day, the best is all is required, you know. So that's my kind of take on education. But yeah, I appreciate you ladies. And you know, it's a marvelous thing when you do search for knowledge, seek knowledge, you seek the truth, and you can live that, you can live it. So
Yeah. Thank you,
anyway,
Linda. I thank you. Number one, you've got a wealth of knowledge and stuff in history that we don't have. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Auntie Sheree, I like that name.
Thank you.
No, I love that name.
Thank you, thank you. So I growing up, I went to Catholic schools from first grade through 12th, and then when I went to college, I went to College in North Shore, which was a Catholic school as well. And then I got my master's. I went into education. I used to work for the post office, and then I went into education. And I'm still in education now. I did not instill college in my kids because I went to school so much and they made the comment that, yeah, you went to school for all of us. We're not doing that. We're not going that route. And so they all they all have their respective, you know, careers and jobs and things like that. I decided that I wanted to pursue my doctorate degree. And so I've gotten all of my coursework behind me and got the email that I have 3 years to get it finished because I've been procrastinating. And so I have to do my lit review and I'm reading stuff and then I'm not reading. And then, so I'm like at a standstill right now, but I'm going to get it finished before the deadline. I just always believed that education was everything. And for my kids, they saw me going to school and it just wasn't for them. And so the deal was everybody had to get a high school diploma. Like you couldn't drop out. You had to come home with a high school diploma. And so my 7 kids gave me a high school diploma. And so I'm happy for that. But for me, I'm still in education. I did come out of the classroom last year. And so this is my 2nd year out of the classroom. And I am a campus instructional specialist. So I work with the teachers to help them to do better for our students. So in Texas is a little different because it's such a shortage of teachers that they now have instructors. And so those people don't have to be certified. If they're in a program and they didn't pass their test or anything like that, then they just become an instructor and they can make the same amount of money with stipends and stuff that a teacher makes. But that's the great state of Texas. And so I still believe in, you know, we do need degrees, but I didn't want to make my kids do something that they didn't feel comfortable with. Well, no, let me retract that because I did do that for my 2 of my boys and they dropped out. I told them, go to college, but that's because I was trying to get them out of the house. It's like, you turn 18, you gotta move. I can't take care of you no more. And so it backfired. They came back home. And so the struggle continues with that. But yeah, I don't have a lot about. I just know that it was this. My mother said you go to this school, you do this, you do this, and I follow the rules. Send it on to Michelle. Hey, Auntie.
So yeah, I feel similar to Dominique. Like my mom really pushed for college hard, and I tried it for 1 semester and I failed out, but I also dropped out because I was like, this is not for me. I never I did well in school when I was younger, but the college part, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. And now, like being older, like I would be interested in like taking courses to further my education, being an infant teacher, but I know I'm gonna be miserable, but I also know that I have to do it. So, so yeah, my mom really pushed it hard, and I thought that I would go to college and have the college experience and all that good stuff. You know, my sister was in medical school, so I was like, that turned me off even more to it, like seeing what she had to go through. But
No pressure.
um,
No pressure.
and so then when I got my first job when I was 20, and it was like very corporate, very a lot of older white people in charge that I couldn't relate to, and like you know, like you could tell that they just like, I was kind of like one of the extra ones there, kind of the outsider, but and but I was at that job for 7 years.
Wow.
It was I worked in the textile industry. So we made fabric for like home furniture, like couches and uh curtains and stuff like that. And it was very interesting. I did as much as I could do without an education. I mean, I learned everything there on the job. I also feel like um you know, in terms of degrees, I think they're necessary for certain things, but with that job, like I learned everything just doing the job. Like I'm very big on like what kind of experience do you have, you know? Um, and then COVID came, and I it it was a blessing in disguise because they furloughed me, and but I don't think I would have ever left that job. Like I thought I was going to be there for like 10, 15 years. My mom has been at her job for almost as long as I've been alive. So I thought I was going to do what my mom did, find a job that I was good at and just like be there for the rest of my life. But I was so miserable. I was so miserable there. So I'm grateful because I never would have left. It was just I was comfortable doing that. So it really allowed me to like figure out what I wanted to do. I always, you guys know, like you know me from when I'm young, you know I always loved babies. And so luckily working in childcare, like you don't, it's doing certain things, you don't need a lot of education. Like they need people working in childcare. So they're gonna take you. So so yeah, that's where I landed at now. I and I love it. I love working with babies. I never thought that I would be able to actually have a career working with babies. Like I thought that it would have taken more education and more degrees, more certifications and stuff like that to actually do what I'm doing. But it didn't, which I'm thankful for. Um, but I do take it very seriously, and this is like what I want to do for the long haul. Maybe not the rest of my life, but for the long haul. So I do, because I take it seriously, like I do want to like further my education just for myself. Um, so I can really feel like I'm doing the best at what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with Dominique. Like I feel like it's all about like finding a trade that you're actually interested in and then furthering your education with that. Like, you know, you don't need to know how to do X, Y, and Z if you're doing this job. You know, like certain jobs just don't require all the education, all the courses and stuff like that. So I think that's a good thing, but I also think it's a little tricky because some people who you can working in childcare, you can definitely tell like who takes it seriously and who doesn't. Um, and without the like education to back it up, it's like, do you know what you're doing? Like we're over here raising other people's kids. Like, are you, you know? So yeah, so I hope to further my education. I hope to take like some college courses here and there. And luckily at this point, like I could pay for it myself, which is another huge factor. Like I basically dropped out of college because I didn't want my mom to waste her money because I hated it. I hated it so much. I was, you know, I was already failing after my first semester, so it would have been a big waste of money.
Wow, yeah.
And now I could just waste my own money. not waste, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
What you desire.
You're right. You're putting into yourself.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in
Yeah,
yourself.
you're like investing into yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's how I see it. And that's what motivates me to actually do it, you know.
I have to say, I used to tell Naya and Nigel, oh, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to, you know, work with kids. And only the only reason why I wanted, because I wanted the summers off. So my kids are like, Mommy, you hate kids. Why would you do that? I'm like, dang it, I do hate kids. One of the things I like to say about Hey Auntie from the beginning is there's no coincidences. Whoever's supposed to be on Hey Auntie is supposed to be on Hey Auntie. And I'm loving the fact that on the bottom of my screen, is Sheila and Michelle and Dom. Now, Sheila was also doing the doula work. So I don't know, y'all want to talk later, y'all can do that. That's great. And just the whole kid thing between Michelle and Dom. So I think that's awesome that you guys are all here at the bottom. So talk up if you want to, or later on outside, I could share your information.
I'm gonna need your contact information.
So it's no coincidences.
So she drilled in our head, go to college, and then she drilled in my head, I don't know about my brother, but she drilled in my head, finish in 4 years. Now I am the oldest, I am the firstborn, so I get all the oops and yikes, and I get all of those. So I've grown to understand that. However, I did finish in 4.5 years. I walked for May, but then I returned for the summer for like one extra class or something. However, looking back, like during the time, it was just like, okay, got to do it in 4 years. There's no option, no choice. But in my somewhere between my junior and senior year transition, not only was I in an abusive relationship, but I was also facing the death of a really close friend that I met in college, and he died very suddenly. And those two things at the same time, simultaneously, was a lot. So in that time, I'm like, I'm not here mentally. Like I knew after he passed away, because I was already in the abusive relationship. So after the abusive relationship and then he passed away, I knew like, I don't care about college. I don't care about school. Like, I don't care what my grades look like. She said I got to finish in 4 years. She didn't say I got to be a valedictorian, but I'm here, right? So I continued. But once I graduated and as I grew up later on, I realized if I would have had that grace, and not saying that she didn't give me the grace, but if I would have had either that grace or conversation with myself and then have it with her to take off maybe a semester so I can get my life together, maybe my grades would have been better. Maybe I would have been able to go into law school, which was my initial dream job, dream career, was to be a lawyer, a juvenile attorney specifically. Never say never, but at that point, college or law school rather was expensive. My grades were not up to par. It was not giving what it needed to be giving. So I went into education for a little bit. I had like some one-off job in fire safety. That was just because I knew somebody. And it was cool, but it was
funny.
ghetto. My job was so ghetto. But then I went into education, and I've always kind of been around education, working with kids in camps and Sunday school, so forth and so on. But I went into education and I really wanted to be in social work. So in the midst of trying to find the social work, I kind of did a little bit what Linda did. And I called this agency constantly, making sure like, hey, I had my interview with you. I had my second interview. What happened? Long story short, they had like a hiring freeze. So I got a little worried, but eventually they did call. And I worked in foster care for 2 years. Interestingly enough, in foster care, I started as a sociotherapist, which was more like working with the foster parent and the foster child, making sure doctor's appointments are met and school negligence is not a thing in the home, making sure they have everything they need for this child. And then I was promoted to the education sector. They came looking for me. I did not go looking for them. So education kind of crept right back in my view. And I was the one of the education coordinators and really going into the law / education for kids. So I would go to court specifically to advocate for the education for the child. Then I realized like this ain't really paying and I need money. So then I went back into education, actually in the classroom. Although I loved that field, in order to move up, you had to, of course, get more degrees and so forth and so on. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that at the time, nor did I have the funds to support that at the time. So I went back into education. I wanted my summers off. I wanted my weekends again. And so I taught everywhere from kindergarten to elementary, or like 3rd grade, to middle school. And now I'm in high school. And now in the last 2 years, I've transitioned out of the classroom. One of my toughest times in the classroom was with middle school. I was teaching special education for 2 years. Loved my kids, loved the school, loved everything about it. However, didn't like the curriculum. Like, you want me to teach this kid how to read and write and they can't hold a pencil. They need occupational therapy. What are we doing here? So I felt like this is kind of not what I want to do, because I felt like it was in vain. And I also felt like I was bored in the classroom, being in my 4 walls. Granted, the kids will always come to my classroom, even if they were not in my class, but they would come to my classroom. And I would be like, okay, you got to go to class, shoo them away. But then when I'm supposed to be in my classroom, like on my break times, whatever, I'm in the hallway, I'm in the lunchroom, I'm everywhere but in my classroom. It was just very boring to see my 4 walls. So I have now since transitioned to a college counselor in the last 2 years, and I absolutely love it. I think it's the best of both worlds. The common thread has been advocating. And I think it's so interesting too that this is our topic today, because as you all have had your own experiences about this is for me, this is not for me, so forth and so on. These are conversations I'm having with high schoolers on a daily basis. And it's like, well, my mom wants me to be a doctor, but you suck at science. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, you suck at math. You're going to overdose somebody and it's going to be a problem. So having those like real conversations is really what I'm having with them. And also understanding that though I'm labeled as a college counselor, I understand every kid is not going to go to college, because college is not for every kid, you know. And I sometimes see the signs in high school, like you don't have the work ethic and you're more of a creative, and you know, the structure is not for you. You don't need the structure, so forth and so on. So I also have those conversations of like alternative pathways. And it's interesting to have those conversations with kids, and then have those conversations with parents, and then have those conversations maybe with the kid and the parent. You know, it could be a lot. But I definitely have told every single cohort that I've had in the last 2 years, I don't care what you leave here doing, but my goal is for you to leave my classroom senior year with a plan. Have a plan for something. Having a plan is not, oh, I'm just going to take a gap year and sit home. No, what does a gap year really look like? Are we doing the work to get to where we need to get to? Are we doing an internship, an externship, so forth and so on? So I just think it's very interesting that we all here have sat and talked about, you know, what wasn't for me, what was for me. And lastly, one thing that I find very interesting is I didn't think about being a college counselor at all. Someone brought it to my attention. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, I guess. I wanted to be a dean. I was like, I don't know if I could be a college counselor, but cool. But then I look back at my college counselor, unfortunately, he was legit a clown. Like being my college counselor was his side gig, and his main gig was being a clown. And respect. I mean, if you want to be in entertainment, that's on you, but you did not help me get to or through college. There was a lot of late nights on FAFSA, a lot of late nights, with mom, just trying to figure it out, don't know what we're doing, whatever have you. So I really think it's a full circle moment for me, and the same guidance I wish I would have had then, I'm able to give now. So that's wonderful.
Oh,
Awesome. Very good. I'm very proud of my baby girl. I am. Anyone want to add anything on about education? Thank you all for sharing what you did. It's a lot. Each one of us, like Naya said, had our own path of doing things, but we are where we are, and we have either the degrees or certifications, or we're doing the jobs that we like to do. I didn't talk about my job. Right now, I'm an EA, and I've been an EA almost like 15, 20 years, an executive assistant, just growing within having VPs or directors, and now I'm supporting, I think I have 5. Just got another one. I've got 5 presidents supporting all of those, which is cool. I think I'm doing well in this job because I'm organized. I like to organize things. Hence, here we are doing this. I'm an organizer, so I'm able to juggle things like this and juggle things for my job. So I like it. I mean, we all know if I would have left high school, what my dream job would have been was being an actress. I didn't go that route. I didn't stay in that route. I didn't have the stick-to-itiveness or the thick skin I needed to have then to continue to pursue it. But I do it outside as a hobby now, and I still love my job and hoping to be able to retire soon and continue to be an entrepreneur. Okay, whether it's this venue or something else that I'm doing. So God only knows.
We want to make sure we also use this platform to like shout out what you're doing, should you want to share. So if you're, use this time to shine a light on yourself, a spotlight, if you will. Yes. Even if you just want to spotlight your beautiful face. I don't know.
Sorry.
I would like to share that I do have my own business. It's called The Parent Training for Life. I started my entrepreneur about maybe 8 months ago. So if you know anyone that's looking for training, that's what I do. I do therapeutic trainings around autism and anything else, disorders, and also I train foster parents. So just the FYI, CPR as well. CPR.
Beautiful.
So if you need daycare, I need CPR. But I am starting on my business as a foster parent trainer.
How can we find you, Shay?
My company is under Foster Training for Life. I haven't set up my social media page yet, so that's the so it's always my email and my telephone number for right now, because my business is using my home address.
Okay.
And I'm getting my cards made up because I just got my license about 7 or 6 months ago. Yes. And
it will come.
That's right. Yeah. Like Linda said, you keep calling and calling. Where's that? Where's that?
That's right. That's right.
No, it will come because I know the opportunity is there and it's going to come. It's just when. So I'm just sharing.
Wonderful. Yeah. Congrats. Anybody else before we close out?
I will.
Sheila.
My name is Shantae again.
Yes,
Hey Auntie, I'm sorry. Here I go with the whole introducing myself, anonymity. I have a couple other businesses, but one I want to highlight is a nonprofit that I help run with my sponsor and my sponsor's husband. It's called His Works Capital, His Works 702 out here in Vegas, and we help the homeless out here, which got massive in 2020. I'm sure most cities did, and we are able to only once a month now, because that's what the law allows out here right now, to help average of 350 to 375 people with clothing, food, hot food, pantry items, clothing, socks, shoes, underwear, shoes, bedding, anything you can get ready within a day. That's what we get to help these our community, because they're us, whatever, on a daily basis, and we get to help them within an hour, and we just let them go shopping. So we service about 350 people. So we take donations constantly, and since I'm the donation coordinator, you can reach me. I'll put my number in the chat, and we take donations 24/7. And if you're ever in Vegas and you want to come help out, see me.
I was gonna
All right.
say I should be going to Vegas real soon, and I have a lot of clothes and like shoes
Bring.
been wanting to donate. So
I had to get a bigger car. I used to drive for 4 years. I drove a Mini Cooper, and the donations were getting crazy. So the Mini Cooper wasn't working. So now I have a SUV. So
Hilarious.
I mean,
That'll work.
it's grown in 4 years. So I went from 2 bags to having 2 other pickup people. So it's 3 of us that do pickups now.
Wow.
So
What a blessing.
sadly, but you know, God is amazing, because it is his, not ours. So
I mean, I have a
What-
business, but I haven't done anything with it. I'm just all over the place. I'm being honest. Okay.
Well, maybe this will inspire you to start to do something with it.
Yeah.
Save it. You can save it.
Yeah. It's tutoring. So I'll work on it.
Oh, tutoring. Okay.
Everybody
Well,
needs
someone
to-
gave me this yesterday, and I just want to share it with you. It says, when you understand that God is never late, you wait differently.
Mm.
Nice.
So you know if it's going to come, you just wait differently.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Right. That's
I
so
like
real.
That's hard. That's hard, but yeah.
Takes courage to wait.
Yep.
That. Yes,
Patience.
Linda.
Yeah.
Oh, that was real.
Mm-hmm.
I am not on here to cry. Y'all not gonna make me cry this Sunday.
It's
She
all
done brought
love.
the word. She done brought the word for the day.
Hey,
Yes.
we're all beautiful. We're all beautiful in God's sight, and He has a purpose for all of us, and we're walking in it, you know.
Mhm.
But He's got more. It's not like where we are now. He's still got more to come. More to come.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
So
I have one last thing to say. Like I said, as you level up, and you know, because nothing worse than an old fool. It took me 70 years to write a book. So at 70 years old, I wrote a book.
and what's the name of the book?
It's a word from the word.
And how do we find this book?
It's on Amazon.
Wonderful. Okay.
It's on Amazon. A word from the word.
Word from the word.
Yeah, to sharpen, encourage, and inspire.
Okay. Did you do a ghostwriter's name, or is it under your name, Linda
No,
Kilby?
it's Linda Kilby.
Got it. Thank you. I like that. And we're going to end it right there. That is good information, good advice. Thank you, Miss Linda. We appreciate you.
Can I just say something?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry.
And also one more thing. If you can, if you can, never mind, I'll do this afterwards. I'll send you all a message on that one. Sorry. Go ahead, Spotlight. You have 1 minute each. Spotlight. Go. Ooh.
Go.
Don't feel like pressure if you don't want
I
to.
just want to thank all the people here who love other people's kids, because I don't like other people's kids. Sometimes I don't like my own kids. And like Alyssa, I was like, at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I could be a teacher, that I could be off. And then I did like a summer camp one year, and I was like, oh no, I do not want to other people's kids. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. I thank the teachers at my kids' schools all the time, because if it wasn't for you, and they're with you, just as much that during the week, as with the parent. You give us a break and you guide the future. So thank you for being interested in my kids.
I will tell you, working in childcare, in education, I realized very quickly it's the best birth control. This is a Hey Auntie, right? It's the best birth control.
Absolutely.
I could give them back. I could give them back. I could give them back. Please go back.
That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part.
It is the best birth control.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the day.
That's
Like,
just
go,
like
go see
being-
your parents.
That's just like being a grandmother. I can say the same thing.
Yep.
I will
Yep.
love you up. Bye. Come
See
get
ya.
them. Come get them.
Wonderful.
love
I
Wonderful.
do want to say though, one thing briefly is, with all the life journey that we all talked about, getting where we're going and all that kind of thing, I also admire the fact that what Naya's doing is nowadays children, young adults need guidance. They don't get all of that at home.
No.
They don't, they need that guidance, because I talked to a college counselor one time and she said, so many of the young people come in there from seniors and they go through college and they've changed their major 3,000 times. They graduate with a major that they don't like because their parents said, this is what we do. And, they just, so I believe nowadays it's so important that even like I said with Naya, whatever genre you're in, take somebody under your wing. That's what we're here for, to pass on our knowledge, to help people. We don't know what people are going through nowadays. There's just so much stuff going on in this world. And when people come in, they're not smiling, whatever. We just need to take people under our wing, guide them, especially young people, young women. We're even the young women that are in their 20s, think about the young girls when you came through high school and junior high and your puberty and all of that. And as we grow, we help others to grow. So that's kind of like my take.
Shantae, I know, and that's another little sidebar note with Shantae. We should have did this earlier, and I mental note. Shout out what people are doing now if they're an entrepreneur, they have their own business, and Shantae is one of those. She is a glorious, glorious person on top of a wonderful colorist. I've seen her do
pay you later.
Magic. Yeah, okay. Cash at me, boo. Cash at me.
You got it.
But she's also in Celebrate Recovery. If some of you know what Celebrate Recovery is, because she is how long clean now? 32 years?
No, 20 years.
20 years.
I'm 20
sorry.
years from sober from drugs and alcohol, any mind-altering substances.
And she also has a bunch of sponsees. I want to say 12 now, but I could be totally wrong.
10.
Okay, so I was close. See, I do listen when you do my hair. So she's got, I do listen.
Because, it's always about me.
So she's got a lot on her plate. But what I'm going to ask the question is,